The rain hammered against the windows of our little cottage in the Cotswolds, mirroring the tempest brewing inside me. For 20 years, Isolde and I had built a life here, a cozy haven filled with laughter, shared dreams, and the comforting rhythm of routine. Bertram, a 46-year-old IT consultant, thought I knew every corner of her heart, every contour of her soul. But the truth, as it often does, lurked in the shadows, waiting to shatter my world. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Isolde, a vibrant artist who filled our home with color and light, began to withdraw. Her canvases, once bursting with life, became muted, melancholic. She spent hours in her studio, the door firmly closed, claiming she needed space for her creativity to flow. I, ever the supportive husband, gave her that space, never imagining it would become a chasm between us. The late nights at the gallery openings became more frequent. "Just networking, Bertram," she'd say, her eyes darting away from mine. The scent of an unfamiliar cologne clung to her clothes, a spicy, musky aroma that didn't belong to me. I dismissed it as paranoia, the anxieties of a man growing older, fearing he was losing his grip on the woman he loved. I was a fool. Then came the phone calls. Whispered conversations, abruptly cut short when I entered the room. Excuses piled upon excuses. "It's just a client," or "a friend from art school." My gut churned with unease, a primal instinct screaming that something was terribly wrong. But I, blinded by love and a desperate desire to maintain the illusion of our perfect life, ignored the warning signs. The final crack in the facade appeared on a blustery Tuesday in November. Isolde had told me she was attending a critical meeting with a potential buyer for her artwork in London. I was working from home that day, wrestling with a particularly stubborn piece of code, when my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a picture message from a number I didn't recognize. My breath hitched as I opened it. The image seared itself into my memory. Isolde, her arms wrapped around a man I'd never seen before, their faces pressed together in a passionate kiss. The backdrop was unmistakably a trendy restaurant in London, the very city she claimed to be in for a business meeting. The man, tall and athletic with a shock of unruly dark hair, looked at her with an adoration that was once reserved for me. My world tilted on its axis, the blood drained from my face. My hands trembled so violently I could barely hold the phone. The code I had been working on blurred into meaningless symbols. A cold dread washed over me, a certainty that everything I thought I knew about my life was a lie. I tried to call Isolde, my fingers fumbling with the touchscreen. It went straight to voicemail. "I'm sorry, I can't answer the phone right now," her voice chirped, a voice that suddenly sounded foreign and distant. I slammed the phone down, a guttural cry escaping my lips. For hours I paced the cottage, a caged animal trapped in a nightmare. The rain continued to lash against the windows, each drop a hammer blow against my sanity. I replayed the image in my mind, dissecting every detail, searching for a logical explanation, a way to dismiss it as a cruel prank. But deep down, I knew the truth. Isolde was cheating on me. When she finally returned late that evening, her cheeks flushed, her eyes bright, I was waiting for her. She breezed in, a whirlwind of apologies for being late, blaming the unpredictable London traffic. I said nothing, simply held out my phone, the incriminating image displayed on the screen, the color drained from her face. Her eyes widened in horror. "Bertram, I can explain," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "Explain what, Isolde?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "Explain why you're kissing another man. Explain why you've been lying to me for months. Explain why you've shattered our life into a million pieces." She burst into tears, a torrent of apologies and excuses. "It was a mistake, a moment of weakness," she claimed. The man was a colleague from the gallery, someone who understood her artistic vision in a way I apparently didn't. I listened in stony silence, my heart hardening with each syllable. The truth, as it unraveled, was even more devastating than I had imagined. The man in the picture was Kester, a sculptor who had recently joined the gallery where Isolde exhibited her work. They had been having an affair for 6 months, meeting in secret, whispering sweet nothings, sharing a passion that I was no longer a part of. Isolde begged for forgiveness, promising to end the affair, to dedicate herself to our marriage. She sobbed, she pleaded, she swore she still loved me. But the trust was gone, shattered beyond repair. The woman I had loved, the woman I had built my life with, was a stranger to me. "I can't do this, Isolde," I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion. "I can't live with the lies, the betrayal. It's over." She stared at me, her eyes filled with disbelief. "You're just going to throw away 20 years, she cried. "You threw them away, Isolde," I replied. "I'm just picking up the pieces." The days that followed were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and the agonizing process of dividing our lives. The cottage, once a symbol of our love, became a battleground. Every object, every memory was tainted with the bitterness of betrayal. I moved into a small, sterile apartment in a nearby town, a temporary sanctuary from the wreckage of my marriage. The silence was deafening, the solitude crushing. I spent hours staring at the walls, replaying the events in my mind, searching for answers, for a way to make sense of the senseless. One evening, as I was sifting through old photographs, I stumbled upon a picture of Isolde and me on our wedding day. She was radiant, her eyes sparkling with joy, her hand clasped tightly in mine. I remembered the vows we had exchanged, the promises we had made, the dreams we had shared. A wave of grief washed over me, a profound sense of loss for the future that would never be. But amidst the sorrow, a flicker of anger ignited within me. Anger at Isolde for betraying my trust, for shattering my heart. Anger at Kester for preying on my wife, for disrupting my life. And anger at myself for being so blind, so naive. I knew I couldn't let them get away with it. I couldn't let them walk away unscathed, leaving me to pick up the pieces of my broken life. I needed to do something, to take back control, to reclaim my dignity. My first target was Kester. I hired a private investigator, a discreet and resourceful woman named Philippa, to dig into his background. It didn't take long for her to uncover some dirt. Kester, it turned out, had a history of affairs, of seducing married women, of leaving a trail of broken hearts in his wake. He was a predator, a master manipulator who thrived on the misery of others. Philippa also discovered that Kester had a wife, a successful businesswoman named Annalise, who was completely unaware of his infidelity. I wrestled with my conscience for a moment, but the desire for revenge outweighed my hesitation. I sent Annalise an anonymous email detailing Kester's affair with Isolde, along with photographic evidence. I knew the truth would devastate her, but I also knew she deserved to know the kind of man she was married to. Within days, Annalise had confronted Kester, and their marriage was in tatters. He was kicked out of their home, his reputation ruined, his life in disarray. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a start. Turning my attention to Isolde, I decided to focus on her career. As an artist, her reputation was everything. If I could expose her affair and damage her standing in the art world, I could inflict a significant blow. I contacted a local art critic, a respected and influential figure named Sylvester, whom I had met at several of Isolde's gallery openings. I shared my story with him, providing him with evidence of the affair and highlighting Isolde's deceitful behavior. Sylvester, a man of integrity and a staunch believer in honesty, was appalled by Isolde's actions. He agreed to write an article, exposing her affair and questioning the authenticity of her art. The article was published in a prominent art magazine, causing a scandal that reverberated throughout the art world. Galleries canceled exhibitions of Isolde's work, collectors withdrew their support, and her reputation plummeted. She was ostracized, shunned by the very community that had once embraced her. Seeing Isolde's career crumble was a bitter satisfaction. It didn't erase the pain of her betrayal, but it did provide a sense of justice, a feeling that she was finally paying the price for her actions. But revenge, I soon discovered, is a hollow victory. It didn't fill the void in my heart, it didn't bring back the years I had lost, and it didn't ease the pain of betrayal. It simply left me feeling empty and exhausted. I realized that the only way to truly move on was to forgive, not for Isolde's sake, but for my own. To release the anger and resentment that was consuming me, to let go of the past and embrace the future. It wasn't easy. It took months of therapy, soul-searching, and a conscious effort to reframe my perspective. But slowly, gradually, I began to heal. I started focusing on myself, on my own passions and interests. I took up painting, a hobby I had always wanted to pursue but had never had the time for. I joined a hiking club, exploring the beautiful countryside surrounding my new home. I also started dating again, cautiously at first, then with increasing confidence. I met a wonderful woman named Genevieve, a kind, compassionate, and intelligent librarian who shared my love of books and the outdoors. She helped me to trust again, to believe in love again, to open my heart to the possibility of a new beginning. One sunny afternoon, as Genevieve and I were strolling through a park, I received a phone call from Isolde. Her voice was weak, filled with remorse. She told me that Kester had left her, that her career was in ruins, and that she was alone and miserable. I listened in silence, feeling a pang of pity for the woman she had become. But I also knew that I couldn't go back. I had moved on, I had found happiness, and I wasn't willing to jeopardize that for the sake of a past that was irretrievably broken. "I'm sorry, Isolde," I said, my voice gentle but firm. "I hope you find peace." And with that, I hung up the phone, closed the door on the past, and walked hand in hand with Genevieve into the future. The rain had stopped, the clouds had parted, and the sun was shining brightly on a new chapter of my life.